Good evening, students. So I was discussing sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and in that I had started pistil, megasporangium, and female gametophyte. So I will continue from pistil. So I was discussing the pistil. I told about the number of the carpels. The number of carpels in a gynoecium or pistil is variable. I told about monocarpellary, bicarpellary, tricarpellary, pentacarpellary, and polycarpellary. Whatever the number of the carpels in a gynoecium or pistil. See, based on the free or fused nature of the carpels, we can have two types of ovary. Based on free or fused nature of the carpels, we have mainly two conditions. One, syncarpus condition, and another one apocarpus condition. The number of carpels two to many, whatever the number. In this, the number of carpels two to many, whatever the number. Okay. When these carpels are fused with each other, united with each other, then we use the term syncarpus condition. So the number of carpels two to many, variable, and these carpels are fused with each other. Fused with each other. They are united with each other. Then we call it a syncarpus condition. So syncarpus condition you can see in examples. China rose, that is hibiscus, brinjal, tomato, onion, etc. These are all the examples where we will see the number of carpels is variable, two to many, and these carpels are fused. Then this condition is called a syncarpus condition. Then you have apocarpus condition. In this apocarpus condition, carpels are many. Carpels are many. Usually you call it a polycarpellary or multicarpellary. When more than 5 are there, then you call it a polycarpellary or multicarpellary. And these carpels are free, they are not fused with each other. So carpels many, free, not fused with each other. They are free, not fused with each other. Then we call it an apocarpus condition. Apocarpus condition you can see in mainly Michaelia, Magnolia, Annona squamosa, that is Sitafal. So these are few examples where we can find apocarpus condition. Remember these two conditions based on the free or fused nature of carpels in a pistil. This is a Pentacarpellary syncarpous pistil in case of hibiscus or China rose. How we say that it is having 5 carpels, 5 free stigma are there. Free stigma. And 5 free stigmatic surfaces are there. So it is pentacarpellary syncarpous. See, style and ovary. In that region there is a fusion, but stigma free. Gynoecium is fused in the region of style, in the region of ovary, but stigma free. So it is pentacarpellary syncarpous pistil of hibiscus. This is another example where we are saying multicarpellary syncarpous pistil in papaver. So here, this is stigma, fused stigma. Okay, so this is multicarpellary syncarpous pistil in example, that is papaver. So these are all 3 carpels what you are seeing, okay, and this condition, that is multicarpellary apocarpous pistil as seen in Micaria. So these are the 3 conditions which you can distinguish in case of gynoecium based on free or the fused nature of carpels. When we take the gynoecium or pistil, We know that there are three parts. Ovary is situated on the thalamus. It is situated on the thalamus. So the basal swollen part of the pistil, that we call it as ovary. So this is the lowermost part of the pistil or carpel, which is swollen. Okay, that we call it as ovary. The long slender tubular structure, long slender tube-like structure which connect ovary to the stigma, that we call it as style. So ovary is basal swollen part. It is a basal swollen part. Then the stigma. Stigma is the platform for the pollen grain. It is a receptive surface. The stigma, the terminal knob-like structure, terminal knob-like receptive part. So it is, the stigma is meant for landing of the pollen grain. So it is platform for the landing of the pollen grain. See, after the pollination process, the pollen grains can come and land on the stigmatic surface. So that's why it is meant for the pollen grains after pollination to fall on it, right? So it is the landing platform for pollen grains. Stigma, landing platform for pollen grains. Landing platform for pollen grains. So after pollination, this stigma is going to receive what we call pollen grain like this. Okay. So these are the three parts in what we call the gynoecium or pistil, which is made up of carpel. So usually what we say, carpel is differentiated into ovary, style and stigma. Inside the ovary, we have chamber, we have locule, ovarian cavity, what we call. Here it is. This is ovarian cavity. It is also known as locule. It is also called as locule. It is also known as chamber. So within the locule, there will be presence of ovule. So these are the ovule. Ovule are held within the locule by a fertile tissue that is called as placenta. Placenta is a fertile tissue which holds the ovules. So this structure, what you are saying, this structure is called as placenta. The pattern of arrangement of placenta bearing ovule, that we call it as placentation, which we have learnt in first year. Marginal placentation, exile placentation, precentral placentation, basal, parietal placentation. So different types of placentation we have learned. So ovules are held by placenta within the locule or ovarian cavity. The number of the ovule is variable in the locule. Even the number of the locule also in the ovary variable. Number of locule when the locule number is 1, unilocular. If locule number 2, if 2 chambers are there, here 2 chambers are there, 2 ovarian cavity, then it is bilocular. See, 3 chambers are there, trilocular. In some cases, five locules, pentalocular. 5. Sometimes more than 5 are there. When more than 5 locule or chamber or ovarian cavity, then it is multilocular. More than 5 locule or chamber, whatever you call, right? So inside that, this is the placenta. What you are saying, this is the placenta which hold the ovule, like this. So here, the number of the ovule in locule is variable. So plant with single ovule in the ovary. Plant with single ovule in the ovary. Single ovule will be there. So these are examples you want to remember, very important. Wheat, paddy, mango, sunflower, these are the plants which are having single ovule in the ovary. So remember this. There are some other plants which are having many ovules in the ovary. Plants with many ovules in the ovary. Remember, the number of the seeds is determined by the number of the ovules. How many ovules are there in the ovary? So many seeds are formed in the fruit. You know, ovule after fertilization becomes seed. Ovary after fertilization becomes fruit. So how many seeds are there in the fruit is actually determined by the number of the ovule present in the locule of the ovary. So there are some plants which are having many ovules in their ovary or in their locule. These plants are mainly watermelon, papaya, orchids, muskmelon. Okay, you take tomato, you take brinjal, you take, many seeds will be there in them. Many seeds, right? So these are the plants with many ovules in the ovary: watermelon, papaya, orchids, right? So this is the simple structure of the gynoecium or pistil, which is made up of carpel. Carpel number is variable, monocarpellary to polycarpellary, and these carpels can be fused. We call it as syncarpous ovary. If free, then it is called apocarpous ovary, right? And in the locule, the number of the ovules also variable. In few plants we have single ovule, and in few plants we have many ovules in the ovary or locule. So the next part now, the structure of the ovule or megasporangium. So what do you mean by ovule? Ovule is integumented, indehiscent megasporangium. What is ovule? Ovule definition: it is integumented, it has protective covering. Okay, it is integumented and usually it is not breakable. Okay, indehiscent megasporangium. That is the technical definition of the ovule. Ovule is usually whitish and oval. Whitish and oval in shape. Here we have to learn mainly the structure of anatropous ovule. It is also called as inverted ovule. You have to learn the structure of anatropous ovule or inverted ovule. Very important this. For 5 mark, explain the structure of ovule or anatropous ovule. Question will be asked in theory exam. Very important this. So anatropous ovule or inverted ovule, one and the same. The ovule which is inverted and which take the turn of 180-degree angle. The ovule which takes the turn of 180-degree angle, which is inverted ovule. This is the inverted ovule or anatropous ovule. This we call it as micropyle. Okay, this region we call it as chalaza. Okay, micropyle is very close to the funicle stalk. The stalk of the ovule, that is funicle. Micropyle is lying very close to the pedicle or very close to hilum, okay, which is inverted. This kind of ovule is known as anatropous ovule. Remember, 82% of the angiospermic families, they have this anatropous ovule. Keep it in mind. These are some of the families: Cucurbitaceae, Malvaceae. The Cucurbitaceae is cucumber family, Malvaceae hibiscus or cotton family. Then Solanaceae, that is brinjal tomato family, chili family. Then Compositae or Asteraceae, another name is Asteraceae. This is sunflower family, safflower family. So 82% of the angiospermic family plants, they possess a ovule, that is anatropous ovule. The ovule which take the turn of 180-degree angle, which is inverted like this. This is inverted, where the opening which is there now, the passage, the opening, that is called micropyle, which lie very close to the stalk, that is pedicle, or lie very close to the hilum. So that this micropyle and chalada, they lie in one vertical plane, but this is very close to the hilum or funicle. This is what we call inverted ovule. So this structure we have to learn, very very important. So we will learn now. This is LS of or VS, longitudinal section or vertical section of anatropous ovule. In NCERT, they are not given the cells of the female gametophyte. You have to draw the different cells of the female gametophyte or embryo sac. Now, this is stalk. Stalk of the ovule is known as funicle, or it is also called as funiculus. Funiculus or funicle. With the help of this funicle, ovule is attached to the placenta in the locule of the ovary. So, with the help of this funicle, it is attached to the placenta of that locule in the ovary. Now, the point of attachment, this is the point of attachment of the ovule, the main body of the ovule, this is the main body of the ovule, the point of attachment of the ovule to the funicle. This is stalk, what you are saying, this is stalk. The point of attachment of the ovule to the stalk, that we call it as hilum. This funicle is fused with the ovule. This is the ovule, what you are saying. This part is ovule. Okay. This funicle is fused with the ovule on one side and form ridge-like structure on one side of the ovule, funiculus or funicle, which is fused with the ovule on one side. It continues beyond hilum. Okay, this part, what you are saying, forming a ridge-like structure, that is called as raphe. The ridge-like structure, which is formed by the fusion of funiculus to the ovule on one side, that we call it as a raphe. And this is what we are saying, this structure. Okay, this is a vascular strain. Okay, vascular strain. Now, the main body of the ovule. The main body of the ovule even in some book they have given megasporangium, the main body of the ovule, that we call it as nucellus. Nucellus is a diploid sporophytic tissue. Remember, it is a diploid sporophytic tissue. It is made up of parenchymal tissue. It is made up of parenchymal tissue. This nucellus is a nutritive tissue which forms the bulk portion of the ovule. It is a nutritive tissue. It nourishes the developing embryo sac. It nourishes the developing embryo, whatever it is. So, it nourishes the developing embryo sac, or after the fertilization, embryo which is formed, it nourishes the embryo. So, it plays very important role. See this one, this complete tissue, what you are saying, this complete tissue which form the bulk portion of the ovule, main body of the ovule, that we call it as nucellus. This complete part, what you are saying, that is nucellus. Inside the nucellus, we will find the presence of this embryo sac. This is the embryo sac. This oval shaped, what you are saying, this is the embryo sac. Embryo sac is also known as female gametophyte. Okay, so nucellus is a diploid tissue. It is a sporophytic tissue. It is a nutritive tissue. It is made up of mainly parenchymal cells. It provides the nourishment to the developing embryo sac, or it provides the nutrition to the developing embryo. Now, see here, This nucellus is covered with protective covering. Nucellus is covered with, this is the nucellus, what you are saying, it is covered with protective covering. That protective covering you call it as integument. It is called as integument. Okay, so we have two integuments here, right? This nucellus, the main body of the ovule, is not completely covered with integument. At the anterior end, this is the anterior end, this is the back region. Okay, at the anterior end, it is leaving a small passage or pore. It is leaving a small passage or pore here. Okay, that we call it as micropyle. Micropyle. So micropyle in the ovule play very important role. Okay. When pollen tube is formed carrying the male gamete, this pollen tube entry will be there through the micropyle. Remember, pollen tube carrying the male gamete will enter the embryo sac mainly through the micropyle. So this is the anterior end where the integuments are leaving a small passage or pore, that we call it a micropyle. So here two integuments are there. This is outer integument, okay, and this one is inner integuments. These integuments, see, you know, after fertilization ovule will become seed, okay, and the integument, outer and inner integument, they become seed coat. Outer testa and inner tegmen, outer testa and inner tegmen formed after fertilization from these integuments. The place of origin of integuments, see, integuments are originating from this place. The place of origin of integuments, that is the back region. That is back region. This back region of the ovule is known as chalaza. The back region of the ovule is known as chalaza. This is the micropyle pore and this is the chalazal region. The back region of the ovule or the place of origin of integument. This is the outer, this is inner. So they are originating from back region of the ovule, that we call it as chalaza. So keep it in mind. The number of the integuments variable. Okay, in some plant only single integument will be there. When single integument is there, then that ovule is called unitegmic ovule. When the ovule has single integument, then that ovule is known as unitegmic ovule. In this ovule we have drawn two, outer integument, inner integument. Like that ovule has only single integument, then it is unitegmic ovule. Example, higher dipods, higher dipods, gymnosperms. Gymnosperms, they have single integument in the ovule. Higher dipods, say Compositae family, sunflower family, they have unitegmic ovule. Then if two integuments are there, see we have two integuments. When two integuments are there in the ovule, it is called as bitegmic ovule. It is referred as bitegmic ovule. It is seen in lower dicots, cruciferae, mustard family, cruciferae family, Brassicaceae what we call mustard family, Malvaceae that is hibiscus family, cotton family, then monocots. They are all examples for bitegmic ovule. In rare cases, there will be 3 integuments covering what you call that ovule. So it is called as the tritegmic ovule. When 3 integuments cover the ovule, then it is called as a tritegmic ovule. It is rare. It is seen in example Asphodelus. In Asphodelus, we can see 3 integument. There are some ovules where integument is absent. Ategmic ovule. The ovule in which no integument is present, that is ategmic ovule. Ovule without integument. Example, Santalum album, sandalwood. Loranthus. These are the example for ategmic ovule. Ovule do not have the protective integument. Okay, so these are parasitic plants. These Santalum album and Loranthus, these are parasitic plants. So this is regarding the protective covering around the ovule. Remember. Now the main body of the ovule, the bulk portion, that is mainly nucellus. We learned the characters of the nucellus. Now depending upon the development of the nucellus, we have 2 types of ovule. Depending on the development of the nucellus, we have 2 types of ovule. One is crassinucellate ovule. Remember, crassinucellate ovule. So in crassinucellate ovule, nucellus is well developed. In crassinucellate ovule, nucellus is well developed. Example, Polypetalae order. These what you call the family members where the flowers are having free petals, that is Polypetalae. Polypetalae, you have the Cruciferae, Malvaceae family. These comes under this Polypetalae. So first type of ovule, that is crassinucellate ovule, where nucellus is well developed. And another type of ovule is there, that is called as the tenuine nucellate ovule. Remember. Second one, tenuine nucellate ovule. So in this ovule, nucellus is poorly developed. There it is very well developed. Nucellus is very well developed. In crass nucellate ovule, in tenuine nucellate ovule, nucellus is poorly developed. So example for this, Gamopetalae order. So in Gamopetalae you have families like Apocynaceae, Vincarosea family, then Solanaceae, So these are having the tenuine nucellate ovule. Okay, so we learned about nucellus, then integument, then the stalk, that is funicle, then point of attachment of ovule to the funicle, that is hilum, then the ridge-like structure formed by the fusion of funicle beyond the hilum, that is raphe. Now this one, that is female gametophyte or embryo sac. What you are saying, this one. Okay. So this female gametophyte or embryo sac we have to learn now. This mature female gametophyte is usually embryo sac, female gametophyte, both one and the same. The mature embryo sac is 7 cell, 8 nucleated female gametophyte. It is 7 cell, 8 nucleated female gametophyte. Now, this embryo sac is slightly near to the micropyle. It is close to the micropyle. It is not towards Chalada, back region, the place of origin of integument, not toward that side. Embryo sac, this is embryo sac. This embryo sac is present towards the micropyle. So this is the micropyle region, towards that it is present. Now this part, what you are saying, this part we call it as egg apparatus. Egg apparatus, this complete part, 3 cells are there. Okay, the 3 cell structure, what you are saying, that is called as egg apparatus. This egg apparatus, what it contains? In the center, it has a large oval-shaped egg. This one, egg or ovum. On either side here, okay, large egg or ovum. On either side, egg or ovum, that is oval shape, and on either side, 2 pear-shaped cells are there. These are called as synergids. Synergids are also called as helper cells or cooperative cells. Okay, so 2 synergids. These are 2 synergids, and this is the egg. These 3 cells together present towards micropyle end of the embryo sac. That is forming what you call egg apparatus. So egg apparatus contains 1 egg which is large comparatively, okay, oval shape, which is there in the center, having a prominent the female nucleus, okay, vacuole. On either side you have pear shaped, comparatively smaller, okay, these synergids containing nucleus and vacuole. So these synergids are having a special apparatus. These synergid cells, this is what you are seeing, okay. The synergids are having special thickening, finger-like projections, filiform apparatus. Filiform apparatus. This, what you are seeing, this finger-like projections, okay, or special cellular thickening, that we call it as filiform apparatus, right? This egg can fuse with the male gamete, resulting in the formation of diploid zygote. These synergids, what are there? They attract the pollen tube, okay. They secrete certain chemical substance, synergids, that attract the pollen tube, and that pollen tube carrying, if this is the pollen tube, this pollen tube carrying male gamete can enter through the micropyle and can reach the synergid, where the pollen tube can discharge the male gamete, then double fertilization can be seen in angiospermic plants, flowering plants, okay. So this is the egg apparatus, which is situated toward the micropyle of the female gametophyte. So this is micropyle. Near to micropyle, this female gametophyte contain egg apparatus. Now the back region, that is chelada. This back region or chelada, it contains highly vacuolated 3 cells. These are the 3 highly vacuolated cells. These are called as antipodals. Antipodals also called as vegetative cells. Vegetative cells. Antipodals called as vegetative cells. Synergids are also called as helper cells or cooperative cell. This is the egg or ovum, that is female gamete. Now in the center, okay, so in the center, this we can refer it as the central cell. It has 2 haploid polar nuclei, 2 number, you can see. These are 2 haploid, okay, 2 in number, polar nuclei will be there here. All the structures will be usually haploid. Egg is haploid, single set of chromosomes, synergids haploid, antipodals haploid, okay. Just before fertilization, these 2 polar nuclei which are there, they are haploid polar nuclei, okay. They fuse together to form the nucleus. This nucleus which is formed just before fertilization, this you call it this nucleus which is formed by the fusion of 2 haploid polar nucleus or nuclei, that is called a secondary nucleus or definitive nucleus. Secondary nucleus or definitive nucleus. It is diploid. As 2 haploid polar nuclei fuse. These are polar nuclei. They fuse. Okay, when they fuse, it results in the formation of diploid secondary nucleus or definitive nucleus. So this secondary nucleus which is present here in the center, and this which contains secondary nucleus, that is largest cell in the female gametophyte, that is central cell. So central cell which contain diploid secondary nucleus in it. So this is diploid in nature. Antipodals, all the 3 antipodals haploid, egg is haploid, synergids haploid. The structure which is present in haploid female gametophyte. Female gametophyte is haploid in nature. The diploid structure which is present in the haploid female gametophyte, that is mainly the central cell. So this central cell containing secondary nucleus or definitive nucleus will be diploid in nature, right? So this is regarding the structure of the anatropous ovule. Remember this anatropous ovule, very very important. This ovule after fertilization produce the seeds, right? So this is regarding the structure of the anatropous ovule. Keep it in mind. As extra information, additional knowledge, types of ovules. In types of ovules, based on the position of micropyle, body of the ovule, and chalaza, based on the position of micropyle, body of ovule, and chalaza, or based on the curvature of ovule, what angle the ovule is taking the turn, rotation, curvature of the ovule, total different types, 6 types you have. One type only we have for our syllabus, that is anatropous ovule. Already we have learned inverted ovule, the ovule which turn by 180-degree angle. These are the 6 types of ovule: orthotropous ovule, anatropous ovule, hemianatropous ovule or hemitropous ovule, hemianatropous or hemitropous, then campylotropous, then amphitropous ovule, and last one, that is circinotropous ovule. These are the 6 types of ovule. Okay, in the next class tomorrow, briefly we will learn about the meaning of these all the 6 types of ovule. Already one type, that is anatropous ovule, we have learned. Its structure also we have learned. Other 5 types, what is the meaning of these terms, okay, and what is the degree of the curvature of these ovule, all that we will learn tomorrow. I will continue tomorrow.
Correct, 1 hour 1 minute.